Sam, episode 21 of HOU.SEC.CAST, HOU.SEC.CON podcast. We are old enough to drink, right?
Shots.
Shots?
Yeah, I think a shot of Malort is in order, right? So
I don't know. I don't know if I want to get that toasty on these podcasts.
That was absolute sarcasm, but yeah, it's episode 21.
Episode 21. Well, I'm excited for this episode. We got Samir Saber over at HCC, staple of the the Houston cyber community, and been a part of helping us with HOU.SEC.CON and everything else. So,
yeah, brings a lot of him bringing his student body to the conference and things like that. I mean, just met some really great kids and some great stories there. Just really great to have those leaders in our community that are building the next super thinkers, right?
Absolutely.
So really cool to have him as part of this.
Cool. Well, let's get to talking to him. Let's go. Mr. Van Ryder, how are you, sir?
I'm fantastic, Mr. Farnham. How are you?
I'm good. Good. Busy, but good. Got a lot going on, which is always good. I'd rather be busy than bored, right?
Boredom is the worst. It's the worst. Yes.
It is. Well, joining us today, Samir Saber, who is the Dean of Digital and Information Technology Center over Excellence, Executive Director of Workforce Technology at our very own Houston Community College. We got some Houston pride going on today. Very happy to see that. Thanks for joining us today, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yep. Good to have you here. You've been a pretty big staple of the local cyber community for quite a while. So really excited to have you on here, talk about all things that you're doing in HCC as we know it here locally. So we'll get into that in just a little bit, but really thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. So HOU.SEC.CON update, our normal update. So we've got our user group on June 27th coming up. So if you have not been a part of those yet, go sign up. We should have links all over the place. Lauren can put those in the show notes, but we've got some cool stuff always going up in the user groups. So the next one is June 27th. Then we've got what's coming up July 18th, Sam?
HOU.SEC.CON. That's the spinoff or the executive tracks, if you will. So trying to create a new community for the CISO and those that are aspiring CISOs in our community and trying to support that. So it looks like a great lineup so far. Tickets are on sale. They are vetted. So we do ask that, you're in that position or aspiring or sponsored by somebody, but we definitely are trying to make sure that that group is a good group for itself to support itself. So that's coming up soon.
Less than a month at the Hotel Zaza in the Museum District, which is a cool little spot. If you like to go to cool little spots like that.
Very hoity-toity, man.
Very hoity-toity. Yeah, that's the word. So HOU.SEC.CON agenda is almost out, right? July 1st, I think we should have that launched.
Yeah, we're in the midst, as the recording here, in the midst of going through all the submissions. Holy moly, there were a lot of submissions. Wow. So making our jobs hard, but that's fantastic. Super appreciative of everybody that took time to submit this year. And I mean, just even going through like halfway through them right now, there's an amazing amount of content in there. It's going to be a blast. It really is going to be very, very good this year. So still working through that. And then hopefully we'll have everything selected and the agenda's firmed up by the end of this month and announce it early July.
Yep. And then I think the review committee's having a hard time meeting your deadlines on all because we got so many talks. So hopefully that all gets finished up. But yeah, we'll
crack the whip.
Yep, get that all finished up. We've already announced a couple of keynotes. So I think most people know that we've got Gene Spafford coming, the Spaff, just a massive, legend in the business. It's just amazing to have him coming down. A lot of people, I think, already know we've got Andy Ellis coming in, who is over at YL Ventures now, but was previously the CISO at Akamai. But we've got a couple of other ones that I don't think have been, or maybe they've come out in our newsletter, but we haven't been real big on them yet because they're very recent. You want to talk about those, Sam?
Yeah, so very excited about two other keynotes that we have lined up. The first one on the second day is going to be our good friend John Kindervag. And that one's going to be very cool. We can't talk about what he's going to talk about. It's very secretive. It's going to be a real amazing. I mean, you and I know, obviously, and we're, sworn to silence here, but that one's going to be a fantastic talk. So we're really, really excited about that. And very honored that John would ask us to be that platform for this one. So stay tuned for that. And don't miss it. So if you're out partying all night on the first night, you still want to show up. And then the closing keynote. Super excited for this one. We have Kim Zetter coming to join us. So Kim Zetter is going to author of Countdown to Zero Day. Will be closing out our conference, and according to Kim, she's got some new stuff to share around that topic. So we'll leave everybody with a keynote speaker that's going to scare everyone's pants off, and they can all go back and be motivated to do their job again.
Exactly, right. Or either quit the cybersecurity industry as a whole.
Let's not do that. Let's not do that. We need everybody on it. No, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, I'm excited about both of those. Very, very excited about those. It's going to be a great lineup this year. I've never been. I keep using the word excited, but I've never been this excited about this lineup. And the talks that we've got in as submitted are really, really good as well. So all that being said, go get your tickets ASAP. VIP tickets, if you want those, if you want a VIP ticket, that comes with some sweet, sweet swag and a t-shirt and a challenge coin, maybe some other stuff that we throw in there. If you want to get that stuff included in your ticket, along with the access and the meals and everything else, go get your VIP ticket. Those end on July 30th. We have to cut those off because we do have to produce that swag, and we got to have the numbers. So please go get those now. That opportunity is closing quickly. Outside of that, Sam, anything else on Houston?
No, we always, those VIP tickets are popular. We do, tend to, I'll use the term sell out, but it's more of a deadline of us having to provide that swag, right? But we should also be more flexible this year with the venue, being able to do more. We've always sold out on tickets, regular tickets. While we can't, we're still in discussions about how we're going to handle everything else. We are expecting plenty of tickets to be available for folks to attend the conference. So, but you still pick them up and make sure you don't miss out. It's it's probably the best value for from a price perspective for any conference out there. So,
yeah, I mean, we still assume that we're going to sell out. We have for several years now. So while we have more available, don't wait. Go get them. Get them now. That would just you've got it taken care of. That's it. It's done. Just go get it. It's easy. All right. Well, all that being said, we'll quit preaching at you and we'll talk about the news. So, interesting article that I found out on Dark Reading. Actually, I said, I'm going to go find an article, and the very first one that pulled up, I was like, oh. Well, that's a good article. Usually I have to dig a little bit, but this one was interesting. So there are, the title of it is Scores of Biometrics Bugs Emerge, Highlighting Authentication Risks. So there is, some researchers did some looking into some biometric terminals. I'm sure most people listening to this are familiar with it. Basically, biometrics is anything like a fingerprint, eye scans, whatever. There's just anything that's got to do with your body, your facial recognition on your iPhone or your any phone that you've got, your Android, whatever that is. So those obviously are getting more and more popular. A lot of people are using them. What it's starting to do is get into the public sector. So a lot of law enforcement is using them. Even critical infrastructure, not necessarily public sector, but critical infrastructure, that kind of thing, are starting to use them. And it makes sense that they're getting used because it eases the burden in a lot of ways. I've used hand scanners for access into different environments back in the early 2000s, and they were extremely inaccurate, but they were there. So it's been around a long time. But some researchers at Kaspersky started tearing into some ones that from a Chinese manufacturer, and they were white label devices, and they were guarding corporate and critical infrastructure or critical premises around the world, not just in China. I mean, obviously Chinese manufacture stuff, they distribute it in a lot of places in the world. And what I thought was interesting about it is they took two different tacks, and Sam, this will speak a lot to you. One of them, the first one, was more about collecting the data off of the devices, which may or may not be seen as a heavy level risk and criticality vulnerability. But the second one was that they were guarding a lot of facilities, like critical infrastructure facilities around the world. And what it made me think of was, I don't know if anybody ever watches a lockpicking lawyer on YouTube or any of that stuff, but there was this, we've all seen them. It's not a biometric one, but those 5-digit keypads that you do on door locks, the silver one that's got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you hit the sequence. And years ago, there was this really easy way to bypass them. And all you had to do is put a strong magnet on the side, and it would pull a part of the device in, and you could just open the door. It's the same thing here. If you've got a criticality where you can enter into that database of whatever that biometric system is, and then stick false biometric whatever, and stick false fingerprints, false faces, false identities all the way through it, then to me, that's a much bigger criticality level, again, depending on context, than an issue around just pulling information out, because that may or may not align and have PII right next to it where it aligns to Sam or to Samir or to Michael, right? So I thought it was interesting that a lot of these are popping up, and it's something that we keep having these conversations around secure by design and that kind of stuff, and these things aren't necessarily getting done. So anyway, that was kind of that was why I thought it was really cool.
I think the part of that is, you got to ask yourself, what's that risk level of that data actually being used for the physical access? So, somebody wanted to walk into on U.S. soil into, a plant or somewhere where those are protecting those physical areas, right? Is that risk high? I don't know. I think the bigger issue here in my mind is just that flood of devices that come out of China, like to the lowest bidder, right? And put them in. And that's always been the strategy. I mean, there's some really good books out there about that, specifically around 5G and things like that happen there, right? Is flood the world with those devices, because there might be some other vulnerabilities in there that we just don't know a lot about yet. So that would be my bigger, that would be the thing that keeps me up at night is, are those, and I will say I have a pool thermometer that has that's connected to my wireless, right? And it tells me, hey, this is how the water is, and it came from some no-name Chinese company I've never heard of before. I'm like, well, I mean, if they really want the temperature of my pool water, that's one thing, but they are segmented off on a different part of my network, but still, that stuff's everywhere.
If they want to heat it up while you're in it and do some damage to Sam,
that would be very nice of them. That would be a totally different situation, right? So yeah.
Samir, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I mean, I always have my education hat whenever I hear you. I'm like, what toys can we bring into the lab, and what kind of training is needed? But yeah, I mean, it's to your point, right? It comes out all the time. We don't know about it. Where is it coming from? Someone's got to tell the masses, right? To do it at the homes.
Well, I mean, when you're teaching your students about that, I mean, just from a risk level, it's a different concept to people who aren't in the industry. So if it's the first time that they're learning about these kind of concepts, I mean, how do they take it? Do they look at it kind of like, oh, really, I didn't think about it that way? Or is it more of a natural thought? Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Yeah, well, it's kind of like how a lot of our labs, they're not just a showpiece, right? It's an awareness piece. So many of them have never seen a PLC, or they've never seen a power plant or whatever it is, or a car, and the key fob, any of those toys that might be there, and realizing that, oh, that's actually something they can do. So yeah, I mean, when we do tours and things like that for the kids, especially these days, right? They're just so used to social media. They have no clue about what's actually around them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's an awareness piece for me. Yeah.
Not knowing how the water gets there, not knowing how the electricity gets there, knowing how vulnerable something could be like this should be a wake up call. You almost hate to break their naivete, right? But you kind of have to do it.
Yeah.
Well, that was
it.
it.
Scare new talent into the pool. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Right. You don't want to do FUD, but I mean, some of this is not FUD. This is just letting them know what the real world is. So
it's like basic, just this actually exists,
Well, and this is it, right? We can hack all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of things you can hack, but the question, and it's really cool. And that kids are doing this, and a lot of folks are doing this, and we're getting presentations like that at HOU.SEC.CON, all these other things. You always have to come back to what's the real risk, right? So, because you can't protect everything. And so, when it comes to, I think Marcus Hutchinson had a good video up on the key fob he was doing up on LinkedIn. I saw the other day, and I'm thinking that's really cool. But at the same time, is it that big of a risk for me and my car where I drive around? Am I worried about it? Should I be worried about it? I don't know. You can't live in fear for that perspective either, right? So.
Well, that's why I keep my key fob for my car in a metal cage in here, because they do have that whole thing where they can scan them from outside your house and then steal your car.
You have a Faraday cage in your office for your.
Well, I literally have metal drawers. It just happens to be, it doubles as a Faraday cage. It's kind of nice. I don't have to worry about it as much. So, but yeah. All right. Well, that was it on that article. Appreciate y'all's insights into that. We will go into a quick break. And on the other side, Samir, you are going to be the main topic. I know you're excited about that, right?
Sure. Yeah, of course.
You look very excited. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on the other side of the break, we will get into talking about Samir, talking about HCC. So see you on the other side. All right, we are back. Hope everybody enjoyed that little break. So, Samir, let's talk about what got you first into cyber, what got you interested in it, or however you want to break your story down. That's really up to you. But the points of interest that I like to know, and Sam and I both like to know, is what got you interested in it. We all have our stories, right? But what led you to academia? Specifically, kind of what, where's that passion line up? And then I think we'll get into some stuff about HCC, some cool stuff about HCC, pretty current news, I think.
Yeah, well, first off, thanks for allowing me to do this. So my story goes like this. I came to the US when I was around 11. Pretty much learned English through having my dad's laptop, Windows NT. Learned English through gaming. You could put it that way. And well, at some point, of course, I went through high school and all that. And then I went to UT Dallas. So I had a degree. I couldn't really find a job that summer. I came back to Houston. My first job was actually through Craigslist. I wasn't looking at the right places. So I was thinking creatively there. And so the same day I posted on Craigslist, I got, 2 calls, 2 emails, and then a week later, I was actually working already. At the time was The Planet, the hosting company right here in downtown, by the aquarium. And then SoftLayer bought them out at some point. So that was how my journey started, as doing tech support. I had a bachelor's. They didn't care about that. That's kind of like the traditional route here. It's you go through high school and it's kind of like, which 4-year degree will you go to? So I took the long journey back to Houston. The college experience is still good, but that first job was everything to me. Just being exposed to, just about everything. The knock group, abuse group, just Linux gurus around me that I was just like, wow, so much. Like, why don't you do something else with your life? But so I was basically a sponge. I learned a lot through that. And so how did my academic journey started? So I started teaching part-time at some point, started teaching Linux at HEC at the Spring Branch campus. And that's how I fell in love with education. I was like, you mean I can get paid from just having all this free time to learn and share and work on labs and get certifications? Like, this is the life, long summers. So I really enjoyed the faculty life, but at some point it was one of those where I just wanted to do more and wanted to have more. I didn't get enough support to kind of just scale out what I was trying to do. So then I became a program chair at some point. So I oversaw the cybersecurity program. That's also back in 2017 when we got a designation for in cyber defense. We had to have someone with a CISSP, so I had that cert back then, so that was a big deal, at least for me, to get it. And then so then from then on, just one thing led to another. I became a C director, continuing ed, because I kind of wanted to be on my own lane, so I became a staff member. And then about 2.5 years ago, I took another risk or calling, if you will, became the dean of our COE, Center of Excellence. So pretty much all the IT programs. And so it's a dual role. So I basically work with all the other deans on tech integration, so we don't repeat things. You can put it that way, to just kind of be an SME in-house. Mm-hmm. So I'm still very passionate about education, helping others. I really think it, especially for HEC, our students, they're almost half are first generation students. So I can relate with them. 74% work part-time, 35% English as a second language. So it's, a lot of other stats like, mental health issues, food insecurities and all that. But what I found out is you never know what you have in your classroom. You might have like a 17-year-old wizard kid, or someone from IBM that worked 20 years comes back to just do a refresher, and you mix those two, and it's like there's some magic that happens there, the synergy. So so right now we're actually almost at 1,000 every year. About 700 are doing the 2-year degree in associate applied science. Many are doing the level 1 certificate, level 2. Then we do some continuing ed as well. But our club too, that I know you guys see a lot of our students and faculty bubble up to the meetups you've been doing and the HOU.SEC.CON. They love your conference. We all do, as volunteers and everything. So the student club though has been a real driving force too, to kind of build that ecosystem. They compete, they do all kinds of stuff, like, of course, the National Cyber League, the NSA code breakers, anything they can get their hands on. So it's fun to see them like help each other. Many are introverts that end up just being like complete 180s, in their lives. So it's nice to see.
Yeah. Oh, I think Sam agrees. I think last year specifically, but we've seen it before, the energy that your students bring. I mean, obviously they're all young, right? They got more energy than most of us old folks, but it's just, they literally sit up in the front of the crowd, especially when we're giving prizes away. And one of them invariably volunteers to go take the prizes to people or something like that. Just the energy level is off the charts there. It makes it a lot more fun when we're doing that stuff. But from the volunteer commitments, and a lot of them come in and help out at the conference. It's a fantastic community. Having been there at the last time at that career fair and seeing the student panel, I mean, to your point, that was in that whole crowd. It was the most diverse crowd I'd seen in any college, I think, that I've been at when I've done stuff like that. They come from all kinds of different backgrounds, which I find extremely exciting, just to bring the different ways of thinking and different ways of looking at things as they come in and approach cybersecurity. It's a very strong program. And then, I mean, if anybody wants to go there and just walk by and see the labs, I mean, I had to keep myself from just walking into the lab because there's just all kinds of cool gadgets everywhere in there. It was really great.
Yeah, glad you got to meet some of them. Yeah, they're very talented. That's one thing I'll tell everyone. If you're an employer that's looking for talent, we basically the capstone class of their 2-year degree, you can have a co-op, so you can have an intern and for a whole semester working for your company, and that'll be their school credit. And that's like a awesome way for them to get some experience. It's a win-win, right? And you get it. But it's some of them. I wish I need to get the name of this student. I just heard. I keep hearing stories all the time. One of them was, we have a student that's running Texas Children's Hospital's cyber team right now. I'm like, who is that? So every year we have interns that do the X-Force Red Team from IBM, the internship program. One year we had 2 students out of like 6 or 7, and all the others were like Ivy League students. So Houston, H-Town, we have skills. It's a diversity. It's like you said, it's the all the ideas, the resiliency, they're just creative, and they tinker and they do. And that's what makes them like so good,
When we often talk about, in our space with threat intelligence and things like that, having a diverse team helps get to the results faster. Is people from different backgrounds, and we all have bias. From everybody has bias from whatever background they were raised, just in terms of your own cultures or language or whatever. And so having different viewpoints from different people, is a huge asset to any cybersecurity program. Otherwise you can find yourself very quickly in a hole, just focused on the wrong things, right? So it's that one person that might have a different perspective that can make everything different.
I think is interesting too, is there's 2 organizations that were startups that I have seen that come into Houston and have built SOCs here, security operations centers in Houston specifically, because of that reason. I know the people who developed them, and they brought them into Houston because of the diversity of talent here, all the different backgrounds. And they know that we've got HCC, we've got U of H, we've got Houston Christian University, we've got Lone Star, we've got all of these different smaller and larger campuses, all in colleges and universities all across the Houston area. And all of them have got some program at some level, one way or the other. HCC absolutely has an excellence there and has the credentials to show it. And when I met some of those young people who they brought into their SOCs to be those level 1 analysts, to start learning, the passion, and again, they were all at HOU.SEC.CON every year learning, and they were playing the CTF, and they were in the village. You would see them more than most of the tenured type, older professionals who were going to the talks. And that's good. They would go to the talks as well. But most of them were in there tinkering and playing around and learning new stuff and just picking locks and trying to find solutions to problems. It was amazing that same energy and same just curiosity was there, that I think just, I don't want to say goes out in people over time, but just like you do the same thing over time. But those young people, and when I saw them doing that, it just energized me. It was like, I want to go pick a lock again. I haven't picked a lock, and I host the thing every year, and I haven't picked a lock in 2 years. I want to join this crowd and have fun. So
it's just like, teaching is one of those things I never thought I would even like. I don't know. It never crossed my mind. And I'm sure many that are listening, it's the same thing. You have this thing about, it takes so much time. I don't know, higher ed. But like once I just kind of fell in love with it, because to your point, it was really that feedback from the students, the energy. Like I would teach for 4 hours, and time would just, fly by just from the interactions. And I would have this adrenaline, like going home, just like really excited about, man, these 20 students, they're about to do something, and that makes you feel good, and you're like, I want to go learn more and share some more things with them,
Do you have any stories about them coming back to you and going, man, thank you so much for doing this, that, or I'm in this industry now or whatever? And you talked about the one student, but you have a favorite story around that?
Yeah, we get it quite often. Well, there was one day I was actually having kind of a bad day, and I was picking up food at Mize, of course, the legendary Mize. Well, it was legendary before the the kitchen burned down, but
It's a sad moment. I think we need a moment of silence potentially for that one. Yeah. So.
It's still a legendary place, but I was there, and one of my students, I was just kind of like at the bar waiting on my food, and then came to me, and he's like, "You changed my life." He told me 3 high positions that he had in like 3 different energy companies. I was like, wow, that was that kind of like one of those moments. I was like, you're doing the right thing right now. So
that's good stuff. It's really good stuff.
Yeah, we get that a lot. That's the one thing about teaching that keeps teachers going, is like that. Seeing the students excel, and the beauty is they come back, they want to give again. You heard the panelists. Some of them said they just want to do well so they can come back and help others in the future. You're like, wow, that's okay, good, it's working.
Do you have a in your program? How do you guide these young adults to specifics, right? So as you know, in cyber, we have so many different disciplines we can go with, right? I mean, what's the best way? What's common for you to guide them to, and then do you get them into specializations at any certain point?
Yeah. So generally it's of course, you have a baseline in curriculum, certifications, and stuff like that. But it's always about the teacher, their own experience. So making that connection. Our labs, a lot of our approach has really been kind of like the HOU.SEC.CON approach. That's why I love that the water plant, the one Dragos has, and all that. We have that. So it's basic exposure. We have a car hacking workbench too that Grim helped us put together at some point. These trainers, it's really just it's kind of like the gamification of learning, right? To just let them know that there's a lot more to it than just the book or the certs. It's a combination of all the things that you have, your soft skills, the things you learn, and tinkering. It's your own experience is the most important thing. That's what we try to make them understand, that you don't have to know everything. It's okay. Because that's one thing, they're like, oh, I'm insecure because I don't know all this stuff. These other guys, they know so much. It's like, no, if someone tells you they know everything, that they don't. It's the opposite. Like you have to learn how to learn and just be constantly getting better. And so they get that from working as a team. Then they kind of build that confidence. Yeah, that's our style. We're a community college, so it's all walks of life.
Yeah, well, you can see it in the students. You really can. And again, we'll preach it, man. People need to pay attention to Houston. They really do. Not that we don't but I mean, when you think about Texas and you think about cyber and technical and everything, you automatically think of Austin. And I get it. It's got the background in a lot of places, a lot of headquarters there, Dell's there, everything else. But the amount of talent here, I think startups need to take notice. If you want to have a startup, you got a business friendly environment in Texas in general. And then Houston, you've just got a massive pool of talent getting just constantly generated because we have that interest. And even in HISD and the schools around the surrounding Houston area, a lot of them have a lot of really good programs that expose students to that technical background. We talk to them all the time as well. So that kind of talent pool just doesn't exist everywhere, that interest everywhere. So y'all look at Houston. Don't pass us by. We may be hot. I get it. It's hot right now, but there's this really cool thing called air conditioning. It will make you comfortable, and then you can go talk to the people.
A lot of companies doing the flex PTO thing, right? So just don't be here during summer. That's that's my strategy.
Yeah, you go to Switzerland. Yeah. Well, Samir, any parting thoughts before we let you go today?
No, just you made me think about just how many mentors we have in town that you can just speed dial. Like I know when you came down to our luncheon, many students already knew you, and then when I was like, he's very approachable, and many of them said, oh yeah, I talked to him at the conference, or I can just contact him. But that I appreciate that a lot about the community that we have here, like everyone has that spirit in Houston of kind of giving back and helping each other. And it's nice to see. That's why I love Houston so much.
I appreciate that.
Before we let you go on that too, didn't you guys get a new certification of some kind?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, we did. So we're pretty much one of the only schools in the region that has it. We just got redesignated. It's called the Center of Academic Excellence in Cyber Defense by the NSA. So it's a big deal. And we're one thing that the CAE community is doing, they're working on an AI program of study, AI and cyber or cyber and AI. They're not sure which loop they'll take or both, but that's coming next year. So that's going to be interesting to see.
Well, I met the professor over that. What is her name? Over the AI, I think it was.
Patricia?
Yes.
Patricia McManus. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a character, man. She's like, I was like, I can see why she's doing this, but she's super smart. I was really impressed by her. So,
congratulations on that certification. That's very exciting.
That's very exciting. That again, pursuit of excellence in Houston by HCC. You can't get past that. It's great stuff.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Well, thank you very much, Samir, for joining. Appreciate you being a part of the community. Appreciate you being a part of HOU.SEC.CON and getting your students out there for the invite to the career fair. That was just a lot of fun. And you're absolutely correct. The students, if they were shy, I couldn't tell because they came up and asked me all kinds of questions and really talked to me. And it was really exciting. Again, I just feed off of that energy. So it was wonderful. So appreciate you being here on the HOU.SEC.Cast, man.
Likewise. Thank you both. Keep doing what you're doing. You're both legends, so thank you.
Oh, God.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Sam, any parting words?
No, now that I can't say anything. I've been called a legend. That's a first.
You are blushing right now. You're blushing.
I'm going to end my day today because I'm going to end it on a high note. And then I'll get beat down again tomorrow when I go back to work. But no, great. Some of you are really cool. Thank you for being here. And I am excited to see programs like that because that's what we're all about, right? Is growing the community.
Thank you. Thank you again.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us for episode 21 of the HOU.SEC.Cast, the HOU.SEC.CON podcast. We will see you next time, episode 22, where we're a year older. We can keep drinking. Maybe we should have a beer segment on there. Yeah, the beer steins there. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.